Welcome to this edition of A Visit to the Mound. I'm Lark Smith along with Stan Hough, and we are here today to talk about managing a baseball club. There are several different roles for the field manager. You've been one. Tell me a little bit about the role of a field manager, what he does compared to the other coaches or even the general manager of the ball club.
Okay, I've been on two sides of this. Okay, in affiliated ball, you get the players that they sign.
Right.
Okay, in independent baseball, professional baseball, you sign your own players, and without the benefit of a scouting department, a minor league to dip into, you got to do everything by experience and stats. Okay. And it's nice to know some minor league directors, coordinators, and anybody associated with affiliated ball at that time, because they're releasing a lot of players that can play that we could have a place for.
Right.
Well, the first thing's putting a team together. Okay, this goes from, I'm giving away business secrets now. Okay, so it goes from Little League up to wherever you want to go, the high as you want to go. Okay, we talked about pitching. Pitching is the primary position.
Sure.
You got to have your best arms out there. Get the best pitchers you can. Now, the second thing you need to really figure out is we need a good catcher.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we need a good catcher to work those pitchers and take control of the ball game and help them out and take a lot of pressure off of them, right? So after the catcher, you need a good second baseman and shortstop. Okay, these two guys are pivotal, really big time, because of the defense. That's where most of the pitches, most of the hits are going to be up the middle, okay? And we get two of those guys, a really good shortstop and second baseman, and then the next thing you need is a center fielder, right?
Up the middle.
Because most of the games played up the middle of the field. The minority part of it is on the corners, right field, left field, first base, third base. As you go looking for the players up the middle, you're going to run into a third baseman or a first baseman or a shortstop. I mean, a left fielder or a right fielder. So you got to pick them. You got to get them when you can. Okay, so you put the team together. Then once you get the team together, you got to, everybody got to get to know each other. Hey, how's the family?
That's
good.
One thing that I think gets overlooked a lot, especially at the big league level, is team chemistry.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, it's all about money up there. They're trying to get the best player, and I think team chemistry comes in the background. It's kind of an ancillary part of that, when it should be a really strong part of
Absolutely.
Anyway, so you get your team together and you have your little spring training or whatever you do. You get them all together and you start your practices and you start looking at how these guys are defending their positions or hitting the baseball or pitching. All right. So once you get all that going, and then here's where it really starts. The season starts. So what you put is the best competitive group of guys that you can on the ball field first. That doesn't mean the other guys aren't. It just means that these are the guys that you figure that you're going to give the first shot to.
Defensively, they're probably the best you got, or maybe the best bat you got to get a lead to begin with.
I start with defense first.
Right.
I'm assuming they're all decent hitters, but the defense is the part that I want to start with first. Okay, so you got a guy who can pick it up on the ground, a guy who can run under it and catch it in the outfield. Then you got a good catcher that works the hit pitchers. And you got pitchers that hopefully throw a lot of strikes.
Yeah, in 3 pitches.
And 3 pitches. Don't forget that. I can remember some of those guys looking at me like, what did he just say? Anyway, so you got that. All right, so now, let's go back to affiliated ball.
Okay.
The majority, I was with 5 or 6 teams, and only one of them said we're going to play to win. It was the Yankees. But they had a way to do it. We're going to develop while we play to win.
Sure.
We're going to teach these guys winning attitudes and to be a winner. Okay, so it was very straightforward, direct to me. You start managing that seventh inning on. So for all the amateur coaches, you really need to start your managing last 3 innings of the game. You really need to, because that's where the majority of games are won or lost. Okay, so and it really most of the time comes down to putting the pitcher out there. What pitcher? Well, in amateur ball, you don't have really a whole lot of options, so you do the best you can with that. That's all. And
well, we see that in college ball nowadays. Most college teams, as far as their pitching staff, their best arms are in the bullpen. they're not necessarily their starters. A college coach will start, he'll have 4 guys that he hopes to get 3 or 4 innings out of, hopefully, but his bullpen is where his strength is. From the 6th inning on is when he starts bringing out the strong arms.
Okay. Well, I haven't followed college baseball as much as you have, but I would not disagree with that. It's a good strategy. But when I was right before I started managing, one of the instructors and one of the teams I was with, he told me, he said, when you go start managing, what you want to do is you score as many runs as you can the first 4 innings and let the other guys catch up. So you play to win from the first 4 innings on. Get it going. You can relax in the middle of the game a little bit, but you got to stay on top of it. And then I get from the same organization, I get the director telling me, you get to the 7th inning, you manage your butt off. And I've learned to live with that, and and it worked. Okay, let me give you another one. Now a little story here with Sparky Anderson.
Well, he was a very good manager.
Yeah, he was. He won a World Series in the American League and the National
Yes,
League.
he did, with two different teams.
Only one other guy's done that.
Tony La Russa. Tony La Russa, yeah.
All right, okay. So when I was managing at Fort Worth, this is 2006, I believe, we brought in Sparky Anderson because he had played at Fort Worth in like 1954 or 55, and they were going to retire his number. All right, so I had him in my office. So I got him in my office, and he's sitting there, a little guy, nice guy though, very good. I said, okay, Sparky, so throw me a bone, will you? Give me a tip. Give me a managerial tip. What, right off the top of your head? He goes, well, that's a tall order. I'd have to sit here and think about that for a minute. I said, well, just, I'm just curious, what drove you? What was the primary thing? He said, well, I'll tell you what, let's do this. He said, when you're managing, play it by the book. He said, if you play it by the book, you're going to win more games than you lose.
Right.
If you play hunches, you're going to lose more games than you win. Oh, and he said, try to win 60% of your games. I said, 60? Why 60? He says, it'll keep you employed. You'll be in a playoff position, and they'll want you to come back.
Yeah, you'll keep getting a paycheck.
And he said that he did say this. He said, understand, you're picking your own team here. Do the best you can with that. And he also said, just remember this. You can't run a thoroughbred race with Clydesdales. So you want to get the better player that you can so you can do that. I took that to heart.
Sure.
And we did well with it. So it's the best I can say. So
yeah. Well, in coaching Little League, I did very little, quote, scouting compared to some of the other coaches in the league.
Well, that's overkill, Little League.
Oh,
My gosh.
But I mean, there'd be guys, at the 12-year-old level that'd been watching kids since they were playing t-ball, and know who they want whenever they get to be 10 years old. And me, I just go to tryouts and hope for the best. And at tryouts, most of the time, you don't have guys on the mound pitching. You just have guys running and hitting and fielding. That's about it. So every now and then I got lucky, got some pitchers. But most of the time, those guys have done all the recruiting or scouting. They got all the pitching, and I was left with the leftovers. So I understand, that you need to have more knowledge of what's out there.
Well, that was my idea. I coached a Little League team too, and this is a funny story. Man, a friend of mine was helping me with it. We we were out there just having a little fun. I was trying to teach them the game more
Sure,
than anything.
absolutely.
Well, we had an 8-0 lead going in the last inning. We got beat 9-8. So at the end of the game, all the kids are going, "Hey, did we win? We win." They were wanting to get a popsicle
Sure.
or a snow cone or something. Yeah. I said, "Yes, we won." But my wife was highly competitive and walks by me and the whole team, and she said, "So, you want to manage a major league team? You can't even handle a 9-year-old team." I said, "I appreciate your support."
Yeah, thank you for your support.
Oh boy,
That was a fun ride home.
Oh boy, well, no, we were in separate cars.
Oh, okay.
So, I didn't have to listen to it, but anyway, it was what I'm getting at is far as I didn't look at winning as that important at that stage.
No, at that age, no.
Teaching those kids how to do it, what to do. When they made mistakes, I just made notes.
Yeah.
We worked on it.
Hit the cutoff, man.
Yeah, catch the ground ball.
Yeah.
Catch a pop up when it's hit to you.
Don't let it get past you.
And the other one was, don't be looking at airplanes going over the field when the ball's hit to you.
Don't be picking flowers.
Or picking your nose, one or two.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was good.
The role of the manager in the regular season versus the postseason, is it any different?
Well, it does not matter in the amateur sports at all.
No.
It does matter
At the big league level?
in professional ball.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, yeah, at the big league level, it has to, because people are focused on it in any particular town. I know some more than some than others, but usually they send a manager out as a goodwill gesture to the civic groups to speak, and that really enhances their efforts going into the next season, and it keeps the team on people's mind. It's when you got multiple professional sports going on, if you can do a little bit of that, you're going to enhance everything you're doing for the upcoming season, and it's for the advertising and marketing. You're going to be talking to groups that some of those people are in those groups, and they need to. You're helping yourself out that way. So
sure.
It's PR work in the off season, and during the season, it's all baseball. You do some, but not a lot. You got to focus on what you're there for.
I believe you know the fellow, Rob Thompson. How does he take the Philadelphia Phillies, who were well under 500, and turn them into a team that makes it to the playoffs all of a sudden?
After working with Rob, I kind of his demeanor is very low key, but he's firm, and I was really pulling for him on this deal. He took a team that was I'm going to guess about 22 and 29 when they let Girardi go, and I think it wasn't because Girardi didn't know what he's doing. They had to change. It looked like from me that the change came because they needed another face at that point in time to help direct. And since Rob was the bench coach then, that he was the natural guy to go to. Well, these guys, first of all, they see their manager go away. That is a hit to every player on the team. Now, to some more or less, and to some not at all. It's
just another guy.
Well,
making out the lineup and making pitching changes.
Yeah, Billy Martin used to say there's three groups of people. There's the group that likes you, there's a group that doesn't like you, and then there's the group that doesn't really care. But in effect, when something like this turnover comes over, it's kind of indirectly it's a message to everybody on the team that straighten it up or we're going to get somebody else because we're doing it right now. It's a profound hit to the ball club, but they got a guy in Rob Thompson that came in and he shored it up real quick. And to me, I would think he gave them a very what am I trying to say? He gave him a very direct reality check. Okay, I'm with you. I'm going to help you. We got to turn this around. Obviously, we don't want more of this to go on. And for himself and for his coaches and for all his team, too. Those guys really, and I tell you, well, mechanics of the game, he did very well. Everybody was complaining about him putting that left-hander in when Wheeler went out, but I thought it was the right move. And had that guy not been so amped up, he'd have been the right move. But he can't control that. He did. That kid has pitched well for them.
Right.
And it was in that situation, and he was betting on him right there.
Sure.
And I don't blame him. I'd have done the same thing.
Yeah.
I thought he managed very well, the whole thing. And look, it's tough. Tough when you got 60,000, 50,000 people that don't like you. You're in enemy territory, and to keep your cool. And as he did very well. So hats off to him for the way he handled himself and his team, because they got around him, they circled the wagons, and they did what they needed to do. And I got to give Schwarber credit, I got to give Harper credit, and I got to give Castellano, all those guys, a lot of credit for how they got from where they were. They decided we can win, and they went out and did it, and it came within 2 games of winning it.
Absolutely.
All of it. So that's a tough one, you know.
Well, you watch the Astros in the post-game celebration after they win the World Series, and they're all fawning over Dusty Baker as to how good a manager he is. The fact that he won his first World Series ever, that love of your manager seems to be something that helps teams be successful.
It's how he handled everybody, as Rob did, how he handled them. And I got to tell you, Dusty Baker's been to the altar a few times.
Yes, he has.
And been left in the lurch. And this was a big deal. Him winning that World Series was huge for him personally. And there's a lot more to this, but we're not going to get into it.
Right.
But I was jumping up and down. Way to go. Although I was for Rob.
Yeah.
Okay, the other guy, Dusty Baker, deserved this.
Oh, yeah.
Big time. And the Houston Astros, they didn't cheat this time. No, there was no cheat. No. That team was strong all the way from top to bottom with their pitching, their defense, and their hitting. And they had a very level-headed manager that took them to the top.
Yep, absolutely. All right, we're about to run out of time, but before we do, I want to talk about the Rangers hiring their new manager, Bruce Bochy. They've got a manager that has some experience as a manager, as opposed to some of the last few managers that they've had run the club.
We talked about Rob Thompson and Dusty Baker. Well, Bruce is the same way. I do believe they're going to win something. That was a wonderful pick. Wonderful. It was an outstanding choice. And him wanting to come back was even better. He's coming back to a place in Arlington, where they're dying for a winner. I mean, they haven't won a World Series yet, and they've been around since, 72? They came over from the
Senators.
Washington Senators, yeah. Ted Williams was the manager. Ted was more interested in how everybody hit.
Well, that was Ted Williams. He could care less about pitching.
Well, yeah, exactly. So that was a wonderful, that was a huge step in the right direction, hiring Bruce to manage that team.
And the Rangers have, for the last basically 3 years through the draft, have been building a pitching staff. I mean, they've got Rocker and Leiter down in the minor leagues right now. They've got several others that are about to hit. Bruce Bochy has something to work with there.
Yeah, that organization's at the door. They're knocking on the door, and they're ready to come in. I think it's going to work. By the way,
yes,
I was traded for Bruce Bochy.
Just once?
Just once. I mean, when I saw him one time, we talked. I said, "Wow, here you are." He said, "Yeah, that blockbuster trade turned baseball over." I said, "Yeah, you went to the White House and I went to the outhouse."
All right, now, all right.
Wasn't that
y'all
bad?
got traded for each other. So what teams was this? The Mets to the
Mets and the Astros. In that spring training, I hit .429, and I was told I was going to be the catcher. I get over to we get over the locker room. The Cardinals were in the north side of St. Pete. We're on the west side, and I had a really good game. I went 5 for 5 my last day. Mm-hmm. And when I got there, the assistant minor league director came to me and said, I need to talk to you. Well, I'm thinking they're going to give me a raise and a AAA contract. Well, he said, we traded you to Houston. Well, the first thing out of my mind was, what, you don't want me anymore?
What did I do?
And it was me and a guy named Randy Rogers for Bruce Bochy. So that's my claim to fame, I guess. Yeah. But it was he's been wonderful. I've followed his career all the way, and he's done a wonderful job managing, and he knows what he's doing. So, and he's got that demeanor, the same thing as Rob Thompson and Dusty Baker, that he'll do well.
That is our time today for a visit to the Mound. Join us next time here for a visit on the Mound. That'll wrap up this visit to the Mound. We certainly appreciate you joining us today for a little baseball talk. Anytime you want to hear something about baseball, you can find us anywhere you get your podcast, or you can go to roguemedianetwork.com for the next edition of A Visit to the Mound.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.